Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm Trish. I'm just going to run over what your week ahead will be with where the planets are in the sky at the moment. I'm also going to pull cards and see how that's going to affect you or the best ways to get through whatever's coming up for you in the next week. So we have the moon in the third quarter phase. Now, the moon's in the sign of Gemini, and the moon's still a super moon. So even though it's not a full moon, it's still at a really close orbit to the Earth. I actually watched the moon rise almost midnight the other night, and it was a giant third quarter moon, big and red and very close. Now, that could be affecting a lot of us, and I know it is just from talking to people around me. People are affected with their sleep because of the moon, and you've got to think the moon affects the tides. So the moon and we're water. We're made up of water in our own bodies. So, of course, it's going to affect us in different ways. From speaking to different people and different readings, I've been finding that it's been affecting people's emotions really strongly. It's making people either high anxiety, so all this uncontrollable kind of feelings inside that they're just not able to handle or deal with very well. Other people have just been going really neurotic over simple things. So little things are setting them off, and it's like they're blowing it way out of proportion. And it's because the moon's so close to us. So it's obviously affecting us in that way. And the moon does affect our emotions, our deep emotions. It also affects our intuition as well. Now, and that's the other thing. A lot of people, it's a good time for heightened intuition too, especially when the moon is so close to us. Now, I'm also finding that people are having trouble sleeping. Sleeping's been an issue for a lot of people. And in a lot of the readings that I'm getting coming up, I'm finding that there's issues around over dramatizing things, emotions just erratic and just out of control, sleeping problems, sleeping issues, and just like emotional or a bit of anxiety and stress around people with the moon, just because the pull of the moon is just so close. So it's in its third quarter phase. Now that's also in the sign of Gemini, as I mentioned. So Gemini is all about how we receive information, we process information, and I feel like that's why it's affecting our sleep, keeping a lot of us up at night. Not being able to process or having so many things running through our mind, it's like we're just not being able to shut down properly and sleep. And that's the effect of the sign of Gemini. They are very open, and I'm a Gemini, very open to receive information and downloads. And it's like all this information gets in there, and it's just feeling, at the moment, it feels a little jumbled. It doesn't. Gemini is all about learning new things. It's about understanding things, questioning things, wanting to understand everything, wanting to process information, wanting to share information. It's about marketing and advertising and speaking, and yes, I feel like these things are really at the forefront at the moment. I feel like it's a great time to be working with decisions around getting insights into where you're going with things, your marketing of different ventures or things that you're doing, getting a good plan set there in those ways. So use that energy of, which is where we are right now. The moon travels quite quickly. It goes right through the zodiac in 1 month, so it travels quite quickly. But today it's in the sign of Gemini. So therefore, that's why sometimes it could be causing people problems with their sleeping and not being able to shut their brains off. Just trying to want to make sense of everything and understand everything. And beautiful Venus has gone direct. She went direct on at the beginning of the month, around about the 3rd of September. Now, that means it's more of an easing for people now, especially around relationships, so that where we're trying to hold off from starting anything new or finishing any kind of relationship. It was really about a time of just self-evaluation, evaluating how you feel about yourself, how you feel about relationships, how you feel about, what you have. So well done to those people that didn't shave their head or make any kind of drastic changes with their self or their look. Also, well done to those people that managed to restrain from wanting to purchase all new luxury items. So, but I feel like it was a time of evaluation and reevaluating, and just getting around those things of beauty and luxury and relationships and love. But I feel like we're going into smoother waters now with that. Now, Venus, where is she sitting? She's sitting in Leo, so beautiful Leo. Leo's very generous, so it's a very nice pairing here. Leo's about sharing and being generous, and illuminating and being strong and being a light bearer, like a person that stands up and shows the way and leads others through example. So, and also they're very generous at heart. The sign of Leo, when it's played out well, or when it's done to the best that it can be done. Now, beautiful Venus, as I said, is all about beauty and luxury and relationships. And I'm feeling like those pairings together is quite nice. So it allows you to be more open and sharing and giving with others, and sharing with your time and your love, and opening up your heart a little bit more. So opening your heart and sharing and being more giving in the areas of love. Also beauty and beauty tips. And I feel like it's in a really beautiful, calm placement there at the moment. So we have Mercury still sitting. Mercury is in Virgo. It'll be there for a fair bit longer. So Mercury is still retrograde. Now it's due to go direct in about a week. So I'm guessing around the 14th or 15th of September. So that will be in my next week's reading. We'll talk about Mercury going direct. Now, Mercury being in Virgo, Virgo is the sign of, it's an earth sign. So it's wanting to, get in and do the work, make lists, get organized, get some structure and get things rolling. Where when you have Mercury retrograde, it's about reevaluating, it's reassessing, it's all about the re. So when a planet goes into retrograde, it's all about re. So retrograde, re. So all about reevaluation, reassessing, and trying to not make any new decisions, not jump into anything new. It's all about just assessing where your life is right now in those particular areas. So for some of you, it could be because and it will depend personally as a personal reading. It's all about which house it is for you. But as an overall transit read, we're looking at Mercury retrograde in Virgo, and it's sitting very close to the sun. Actually, I believe it was conjunct yesterday. So a conjunct planet with the sun. The sun's all about illumination and lighting the way and showing things. Well, Mercury's all about information, processing, learning, sharing, expressing. So in the areas of things like marketing, sales, and advertising. As a general description for Mercury, Mercury is all about processing information. It goes a lot further. It goes into like merchants and sales, and there's many areas for. It's also communication. It can be about like that kind of trickster kind of energy, so the energy of Mercury is all about learning, expressing, communication mostly. So that can be in the areas of like your social media, your marketing, advertising, sales, and merchants, business people. So all self-employed entrepreneurs. Now it's also about like messages and your thoughts and questioning, and learning new things, travel. Now with it being conjunct, also close to the sun, conjunct yesterday, and slowly starting to move away from the sun. So with it being conjunct, it just means that those areas in your life are lit up. So there's a light shining on those areas of your life. Now, the sun, as I said, brings illumination and lights up those areas. The sun's also quite generous and quite powerful energy. So with it illuminating things like, how you express yourself, how you communicate, how your social media, computer and technology and all those, gadgets and things like that. So with that being Mercury retrograde, it's when those little things go haywire. Now with that beautiful, powerful sun, it's really illuminating where the problems exist, and it's asking you to assess and reevaluate those particular issues. For instance, if your computer's starting to play up, or you'll find Mercury retrograde, it may have some little ticks or little issues, but it's making you assess, is it time for you to purchase a new computer? Now, I wouldn't say go out and purchase one now during a Mercury retrograde. I would say wait till the retrograde's finished, so don't do that this week. But it's asking you to assess those situations. If you're having trouble communicating with somebody or expressing yourself or marketing, it's asking you to sit down and assess or reevaluate how you're doing that. Do you need assistance with that? Do you need to change it up a little bit? So it's not saying do those things right now in this week. It's saying use this final week of Mercury retrograde to actually assess those things and see what it is that you need, changes that you need to be making. for next week. So for this week, it's all about assessing. It's about reassessing, reevaluating your life. Have a look into the things that revolve around communication for you, for marketing, for sales, for if you're an entrepreneur, around your business, and about getting some kind of like ideas of how you can better move forward. You're not doing it this week, but you're assessing how and planning how you're going to do that. Now, that is in the sign of Virgo, which is fantastic because Virgo is all about making those lists, getting those structure, getting those systems. So really, primarily this week is a perfect time to sit down and work out better ways to get better structures, better things going in your life for your marketing, your creativity, your expression, how you learn things, how you express things. So it's perfect timing now to just really assess the best kind of systems and processes that you can have in your life and in your business or in your workplace. So that's a beautiful placement there, even though sometimes we fear Mercury retrograde. To make the best of that, there's nothing to fear in astrology. You just have to use the energy to the best of its advantage. So don't be fearful of Mercury retrograde. Yes, sometimes computers have little problems, but that could be asking you to assess, is it time for me to purchase a new computer? Is my computer really old and it's now time to me to think about, do I need to purchase a new computer? So it is. So make the most of this week by just reassessing and reevaluating those little things that you've been noticing that you've been having issues with because of Mercury retrograde. So that's the best way to make the most of that Mercury retrograde energy without being fearful of it. I'm going to pull a card, first of all, for Mercury. Mercury sitting with Leo, and I find this a beautiful placement, but let's just have a look, a bit of advice in the area of romance or luxury or looking after yourself or making that change now because we've come out of retrograde. So if you were thinking about making some kind of change, take things slow. Yeah, beautiful. So it's just asking you just to take things slow. So still how we've only just come out of the retrograde there. So it's saying how you may have been thinking about doing a whole new look or, making some big extravagant purchase. It's just, or, diving headfirst into a new relationship. It's still asking you just to take it slow at this time. Still don't rush into it just because it's gone out of Mercury, just because Venus has gone direct doesn't mean that it's time to rush into it. It's now to still take our time with it. Don't rush into any big major changes in those areas. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the moon, and we're going to look at the moon being, let's see, what are we going to read from for the moon? So we've got Mercury, and we're going to read the moon today. So the advice I would give for the energies of Mercury, let's have a look at this deck here. This is my personalized oracle. I actually create oracles for people, so I can do personalized oracles for you. Now, searching, good. Okay, so with Mercury in retrograde, it's a time of looking in and evaluating yourself. You can see here, she's looking, this is me, looking in at another version of me. So here it is, it's about reevaluation and it's about assessing. So as I mentioned, as I talked through everything I said when I was talking about Mercury retrograde, and the best way to make the use of the energy of the retrograde is by taking a look at yourself, taking a look at how things run, how you appear to the world, being the mirror. So how your presence is in the world, how you're able to express yourself in a very clear way, how you can learn new skills, how you're learning new things, how you're processing information, because we are sitting in, I know that's the moon in Gemini. We are just running back to Mercury. We're sitting in Virgo for Mercury. So back to that Virgo energy of getting lists and getting structures and having an outsider look. So here it is all about looking from an outside point of view in it yourself at how you do things, how you run things, how your life is, and have a look to see if there's ways that you think you could do better. So think of it as if you're looking at it as another person and how they're living their life and how they're doing things. What advice would you give them? How would you say, okay, I think your life would go a lot smoother or your business would be much better if you did X, Y, Z. So that's about you looking at yourself, not looking at anyone else, looking at yourself from an outsider point of view and trying to see what advice you could give yourself to make your life or your business run or your work run a lot more smoother there. So your communication, your expression, how that could run a lot more smoother. So that's my advice on the Mercury energy and how to best use that in the next current week. Now, the next one we're going to read is the moon energy. Now, the moon is in its third quarter phase. The moon, we are sitting in Gemini right now. So Gemini is all about, expression as well, communication as well. It's ruled by Mercury. That's why they had the same kind of traits. Let's see. Now, this is my Sugar Sweet Oracle. I just love this Oracle. It is so beautiful. This Oracle is going to be available very soon on my website. So the Connections one is available, but at the moment on the website, but this one here will be available soon. Okay, so we're tapping into the energy of that moon, that third quarter moon. That is huge. It's really large in the sky at the moment. If you're watching the moon, if you can see the moon rise, go and watch the moon rise. It's still very close orbit to the Earth. Okay, what have we got to say? Information. Well, that makes sense. Information. It says seek more knowledge. So information being in Gemini right now, it's about getting more information, using this time to look for more information, seek more information, look into things a lot more, try to understand things a bit more, to process things a lot better and understand things a lot more. So it's really about learning and processing. So I wouldn't say it's more expression in that Gemini expression communication. It's more about information, knowledge coming in. So more so than what's going out to the world, it's about what's coming in. So and again, well, that makes sense because the moon is all about internal and the internal feelings and what goes in, what's happening on the inside. So more so where the sun is about expression. So if the sun was sitting next to, so if it was the sun there in Gemini, I would say it's more about outward expression, but we're talking about the moon being in Gemini. So we're talking about inner feelings and what goes in. So what's going on the inside. So it's all about information, processing and new learning. So that's what you need to be doing this week, is looking into new ways of getting information, new ways of understanding what's going on around you, perhaps some kind of course that you need to do or some kind of reading of something, just to take in more information or more processing to make you better in whatever area that is. So whatever it is that you're interested in or you're curious about, really, it's about taking that action while the moon right now in Gemini. The other one that come out is the perspective card. So it says think outside the box. So this is the perspective card. So thinking outside of the box. So it's not about being inside, like the moon is internal. The moon's all about being internal, but Gemini is all about being external. Gemini is about, communication and expression. And I know I mentioned it with the sun, but this card is saying it's about changing your perspective. So thinking outside of the box. So taking those beautiful ideas that are coming in from the Gemini moon or the processing energy that's going on inside. So they're an air sign. Gemini is an air sign. So it's all about information and processing things. So taking that processing of information and changing it around and looking at it from a different perspective. So maybe doing things a little bit differently, thinking a little bit differently. If you've been thinking very negatively lately, it's now time to change that perspective on how you're thinking. If you've been self-doubting and self-negative talking to yourself, hurting your own feelings, because we're talking moon here, so it's about your own inner feelings and emotions. So if you've been a little hard on yourself, it's about the way you're thinking about yourself. It's time to change that way, those thought patterns around yourself, and start being more positive. So that's a little thing that you can be doing this week as well with these energies around. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Trish, and I will see you again next week with your astrology read.